Hello guys and welcome to my budget deck channel. Today with a deck that is pretty new, or at least some cards are pretty new, and I kind of wanted to try out a little bit what you can do with this new variant of Aromages. I think there's probably a lot of different builds going around. There's probably builds that are more competitive, less competitive in a way, but this is trying to build a deck on a budget so you don't run stuff like Impermanence, all those crazy cards. Plus I tried to give it a little bit of my own kind of spirit in the sense. I tried to add another win condition in a sense, so if you're interested in why I chose different cards over other certain cards and what else you could play, what I decided not to play, then stay tuned for that. One Aromage Marjoram. You could play 3. I was on the verge of playing 3 because it's kind of easier than to technically go into your level 6 Synchro Monster, because if you have 3, then you need a setup of exactly 3 cards to go into your like Synchro Monster, which would be Jasmine, Laurel, and Marjoram, because you could just tribute summon this card, then you need to get life points again, then well, you can special summon the card, then make someone a tuner, and then you got level 6, which is a lot of work, I'm telling you that. So I feel like that was not the optimal play in this kind of sense. But yeah, you know, that's what I did not choose to do then in the end. So I feel like this card is mainly being special summoned out by your Link monster or by your other kind of spells. So I feel like this is okay at 1. You could play it at 3. The effect of banishing stuff from your opponent's graveyard can actually be quite neat, so even ending with this card isn't too bad. I decided to run one Aromage Rosemary literally just because of the fact that she's level 4. This can come up sometimes, like if you want to lose Laurel's effect, for example, and you have one Rosemary and one Jasmine, then you could go into your Link monster, so that into your Synchro monster that's level 6. So I feel like that was kind of helpful. Also helps you going into your level 5 Synchro monster. You can't forget about that. It's not as relevant most of the time, especially not going first, but I think in a sense it still is a good addition to the deck. Triple Lone Fire Blossom without the Pleasure Plant engine. How often do you see that? Mainly going to be used to either bring out Marjoram, or going to be bringing out Evil Thorn if you're going to go into a Link monster. Can bring out Jasmine as well. That's about like the 3 targets that you most likely are going to go into. Double Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, because I think the card got a reprint, so you can easily afford the card, and in a deck that kind of wants you to gain life points, I think the card is neat, but especially during your opponent's turn, especially making it survive, because I feel like this is a kind of a grindy deck. The more resources you can build up, the better, but in the end, yeah, the card works well, but you don't really want to play it at 3, so I feel like at 2 it was fine. Triple Jasmine gives you draws, gives you additional normal summon. This card really doesn't want to be negated, because this card can lead to at least some plays. I don't want to say extensive plays, but that's at least some kind of plays. I decided to run triple Laurel because Laurel actually gives you access to your Link monster as well with its effect, plus making a card tuner can come in handy sometimes, plus giving your Link monster, if you already have a different way to go into it, giving it a second card to tribute and then summon something else and then gain life points when this card is into the graveyard. So you have a lot of things that you actually can do with this card. So I feel like this card was better, even though it's level 1. I wish it would be level 3 or something, but even if it's level 1, it still does its job. It helps you go into your Synchro monster, so I feel like this card was kind of neat. Evil Thorn reduces your opponent's life points, which can be quite important because you then have more than your opponent, even though if it's only by 300, helps you go into your Link monster. Problematic if you draw 2 of them, because then yeah, I mean, you can still go into your Link monster, but then one of them is definitely dead and you're not going to do much with them, and you don't really have discard effects. So you know, you can do certain things, but well, that's about it. Aromaseraphy Angelica, tuner monster. You can get quite the amount of life points at certain points. Can special summon this card off the graveyard. Sadly, also level 1 could deal with a higher level monster, because the problem is your Aromage monsters don't have all that high of a life point. So I feel like no life points, levels, so the synchro summoning can be quite dangerous, somehow hard to do sometimes. I decided to run triple Paw of Desires. You could also not use this card and play certain other cards like Instant Fusion, for example, if you want to go for that kind of build and you want to establish your synchro monster with that a little bit more. But I felt like since there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to be ashed, baiting ash with the Pot of Desires is possible, but also if you already get ashed by something else, being able to draw 2 more cards is quite essential. And there's not many cards you want to, you care about being banished too much, since most cards you either will be able to search before, or if you can't, then your turn will probably be over without Pot of Desires anyway, because there's not a card that can save you too much. So I feel like Pot of Desires is actually quite good, because you can play most cards at 3, most of the important ones. And yeah, if you don't want to play Desires, I understand. Ancient Leaf is a card you could play with the amount of life points you can gain. You could bump up Marjam to 3 if that's going to be a problem for you. So all in all, I feel like Pot of Desires is fine, but I understand if you don't want to play it. So there's different kind of things that you can play. You could play stuff like Rivalry of Warlords, because it's just a floodgate that helps you survive a few turns possibly. But against today's meta, where decks are kind of archetype specific, and they mainly are somewhat the same type at least, yeah, it's gonna shut down some decks, but most decks don't really care about it these days. Terraforming, because I don't want to run triple Aroma Garden. You can run triple Aroma Garden since it's not once per turn the effect, so you can even stack them on top of each other technically. I felt like it was okay like that. You deck thin a little bit and stuff, but if you want to play it at 3, then that is fine as well. Monster Reborn, since you don't have that many good resources, so being able to summon a monster back from your graveyard is always good. Caught by the Grave, since you don't really want to be ashed or affect Veiler, if that's even a thing. Other than that, yeah, it doesn't help you against impermanence. You can try to not play this card, but I feel like it came in more helpful than you'd think. Aroma Gardening, a really nice card, but the second effect, when your life points are lower than your opponent, I mean, I guess before you get an OTK, you can still special summon something out. That's great. Yeah, I mean, gain 1000 life points is probably the best effect with that one. I ran one Cauldron of the Old Man. You don't have to, but I feel like that's another card that gives you a possibility to generate life points, and it's a card that your opponent kind of has to deal with over time. He can't ignore that, and it maybe triggers them a little bit to get rid of those cards and not your trap cards, which are quite important for the strategy. So technically that adds to the win condition as well, since you kind of stall out duels a little bit with this deck. You kind of take them maybe to 5 or 6 turns, and if you then get 1500 damage out of it, well, that's pretty neat as well. Plus, like, every turn you can decide what you want to do. You don't use up the counters. So I think the card is better in this deck than you'd think. Don't think it's as good as you want to run 3 of them, but a cheeky one-off in this deck I feel like is kind of neat in there. Aroma Garden, well, gives you life points, gives you tank boosts, can be quite neat. Could play it at 3, but I feel like with Terraforming, that's already good enough. Blessed Winds, a card that I really like, because that's... It gets rid of your Evil Thorn if you have one in hand. You don't want to use it to gain some life points. You can special summon stuff back from your graveyard, which is quite important, especially since you can discard Aroma Seraphim. So I feel like that's quite neat. I'll talk about in a second how that card helps you as well with another thing. Dried Winds, a lot of people don't run it as much, but I feel like being able to pop possibly 2 cards during your opponent's turn when you gain life points, like with Sweet Marjam and Dried Winds, is, in my opinion, pretty strong. I don't know, you have to see for yourself. I kind of would want to rather draw into this card and search Humid Winds, but I can understand if you want to swap the ratios, play like 1 Dry Winds and play double Humid Winds if you feel like that is more helpful, because it kind of helps you generate life points during your opponent's turn, which, other than that, basically only Spooky Dogwood and the Aroma Seraphim Angelica does. So you don't have that many options for this, so I feel like maybe that's a thing that you want to be doing. I ran double Crackdown because, first of all, disrupting your opponent even more without having to pay life points, which kind of helps the deck a little bit, is neat. There's a lot of decks that when you steal their normal summon, for example, then they kind of are shut down a little bit. I mean, you can still destroy this card or whatever, but also it helps you with another win condition that Blessed Winds helps you with, which you can get out more often than you'd think. So I feel like that card is pretty neat as well. 1 Humid Winds, because I feel like, yeah, the draw, the search effect, everything is nice, but it doesn't help you as much in the control way. Plus you can search it, so I feel like at 1 it was fine, but you can bump it up if you want to. For the extra deck, Black Rose Dragon, you might even be able to use the second effect of Black Rose Dragon. Yeah, this card has a second effect. You might be able to use it. Not sure if you're gonna, but yeah, a nuke on the field is quite neat as well. If you have access to that, then why wouldn't you play that? Ancient Sacred Wyvern, a good card in this deck, helps you OTK a lot. You need a Light Tuner, which, oh, surprise, you do have. You can only make it with Angelic, though, and not with Laurel. If you use that effect on someone else that is light, which most of your monsters will not be, or, well, Jasmine is the only one that comes to mind then. But still, if you get this card out, it's pretty strong because you gain the difference of life points as attack points, and that can lead to quite heavy attacks. Coral Dragon level 6 if you need to get rid of some certain things, plus being able to draw a card. Kind of nice. Could play Stardust Charge Warrior as well if you want to. Well, that's up to preference. And double Sweet Madram. The card is quite nice. You can search stuff. You can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. So you kind of want to spam this card out as quick as possible. Yeah, it's not always that easy in this deck. You wish they had a way that would be like a one card combo to go into it, which they don't, sadly. So you kind of have to rely on other cards in your hand a little bit. One card that you could play, Queen of Thorns. If you decide to go for stuff like Rivalry of Warlords or in general, the effect isn't super great. And mainly if you have the level 6, you want to go for this card. But if you feel like your opponent only has 1,000 life points left and you don't want them to be doing much, then yeah, you can play Queen of Thorns, but you don't have to, obviously. Rosemary, pretty good card, helps you. I mean, once per turn, if you gain life points, start one face-up card, it has the effect negated, can't be helpful, but yeah, I mean, the tiny attack boost can finish games, I guess. So what the other win condition of this deck is Topologic Bomber Dragon, because you quite easily get this card out. And since you don't have many restrictions or anything where it says, oh, you can only summon plant monsters for the rest of the turn, this card is actually quite easy to go into. You just need 2+ effect monsters, so you can even go there from Aromaseraphy Jasmine, and there's a lot of things how you can go into this. And then with stuff like Blessed Winds, with stuff like Crackdown, with things like to you in your turn, Angelica and whatsoever, you can quite easily trigger the effect of Topologic Bomber Dragon if it's during your turn or if it's during your opponent's turn. That both works out pretty fine. Plus, if you have this card first turn, your opponent is gonna have not too much of an easy time to playing stuff like Salamangreat, or if they playing stuff like the Dragon Link kind of decks, because they summon it just as special. If a monster is special summoned to a zone, a Link monster points to, which that basically means you can't really summon stuff from the extra deck without nuking your whole board, which I think is pretty neat. Also, that isn't once per turn, so you basically shut them down until they get rid of this card. So I feel like this card very strong in this deck, and especially against decks like Salamangreat, Marincess, Dragon Link, and whatsoever. This card can be quite a threat that you shouldn't forget about. And Borlow Dragon, if you actually want to finish the game, if you don't want to play Ball Sword Dragon since it's a budget deck profile, you don't have to play Nightmare Unicorn as well. That's just another Link 3 option. Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus, the Aromaseraphy Jasmine Link monster helps you a lot. I wish that had an effect to special summon a Aromage from your deck or something like that, not trade out stuff, because you need a lot more monsters on board for this to work than you'd want to, because you don't have that many monsters actually that you can rely on. But yeah, that's all we got, so that's what we're going to use. And one Link Karibo, you have 3 level 1 monsters, so like a total of 9, which works pretty fine. What cards you could also play in the deck is, technically you could play Angel Trumpeter, because it's a tuner plant monster, and you can technically summon it with Aromage Jasmine and then instantly go into your Link monster. It's okay. You could do it, not saying you should do it, but that's a thing that you could be doing. Could obviously play one more Aroma Garden if you want to, one more Ancient Leaf if you want to, triple Madram or double if you want to. There's a lot of things that you can do differently in this deck that doesn't make it necessarily better or worse. The whole deck itself is neat, but I wouldn't say super hard competitive. Like, I don't know, they don't have enough one card combos or crazy like resource management as other decks have, and if you get disrupted you run out of resources quite quickly. So I feel like in total the deck could have been a little bit better with one more card that would have done more than just give you life points or kind of support the gimmick. I like that they kept the gimmick alive, not just found a workaround for the gimmick, but yeah, in total, the deck didn't get too much stronger in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave it a like, comment. If you don't like my card choices, at least let me know why as well. The whole like, I'm just gonna dislike that because I'm so cool, it's usually not very helpful. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts on stuff, and if you feel like you don't like the card choice, at least listen to why I want to play them, and then you can argue, not just be like, oh, that sucks. But I'm talking to YouTube here, so who cares. Hope you're having a good day.